Welcome to Podnutz Daily for July 15th, 2009, episode number 178. Last show I accidentally said June 12th. June 12th, 2009, but I meant July. I'm too lazy to go back and change that, so I'm just revising it right now. Okay, so we got some computer stuff that happened today. My dad was off today, so I did a lot of work myself, which is fun sometimes. You really test yourself. And I feel like I kicked some butt, so here's what happened. We had one computer, and my dad was working on this a couple days ago, actually yesterday. It was a Dell laptop, and what we were trying to do was we were going to do a reinstall using the recovery partition. I love recovery partitions on Dells because they take like 10 minutes to run. This is like I'm talking about like a system recovery. Well, they wanted a reinstall, but they wanted their data saved. So we threw Knoppix in there. Well, first we tried copying the files off of his hard drive just using Windows. We were getting errors. So, okay, let's try Knoppix. It's possible he might have had a bad hard drive, but for some reason we didn't check that yet. So we put Knoppix in. I think because we thought the problem was something else. We put Knoppix in, started and used that to copy this. Oh, no, I know why. I know why. I'll tell you why we use Knoppix. And this is a cool thing. We use Knoppix a lot for this reason. Did you ever in Windows start copying like a huge directory or a huge folder of files over, and some error occurs halfway through and it just stops the whole copying function, and you don't know what copied over and what didn't copy over, and you get real mad? Well, Knoppix allows you to hit skip instead of it just ending off. It allows you to hit skip, and then it allows you to hit auto skip, which will automatically skip anything it comes across that seems a little funky. So we use Knoppix for copying files over because of that reason. So we were using Knoppix instead of Windows in this case, and Knoppix started running slower and slower and slower while we were copying these files over. It was like 20 gigs, but it was taking longer than it should have. We were using USB 2.0, and putting them onto an external hard drive. Well, it got to about 70% of the copying done, and then it just halted. In fact, I wasn't there yesterday, but my dad said what happened was the drive was existing in Knoppix. Everything was fine. It got slow. It got to 70%, and then the drive just went away from Knoppix. The copying stopped, and then the drive came back. So the first thing I did this morning when I came in is I tested the hard drive. I used C-Tools. Threw C-Tools in there, ran the short test. It passed. Short tests pass in C-Tools more often, I think, than they should. I always run the long test because, I don't know, more than half the time. No, I don't know about half the time. More than half the time when I suspect the drive is bad, I run a short test and it passes. The long test fails, and I only need to get one error on a long test, and I consider the drive bad. So, and this one was on 20, 30. It didn't even get close to getting done. I just stopped it, and I knew the drive was bad at that point. So C-Tools told me the drive was bad on the long test. So I threw a hard drive in there today, and then I ran into some other problems, which I'll probably talk about on Monday because I still haven't got that figured out. But what I wanted to talk about was, how we get data off a hard drive, especially when Windows is giving us a tough time. Use Knoppix. And I use Knoppix 5.1 or 5.2. I'm pretty sure it's 5.1. I still got to check on that for you guys. Okay, so next computer we worked on was a computer I was working on was a Toshiba laptop infested with malware, viruses, this kind of thing. And when you get a computer that's really infested with malware, sometimes it stops malware bytes from running. Sometimes there's something on there that does not allow malware bytes to run as you try to get the stuff off. And one solution to getting malware bytes to run is to change the name of the executable of malware bytes. I call mine Bam Bam instead of MBAM. It's usually MBAM, which is malware bytes anti-malware. I just changed it to Bam Bam, run it, and sometimes that works. But I did that, it started, but I couldn't get the updates. So I used for the first time a tool my dad swears by, and it's called Trojan Remover. And it's from a company called, let me pull up the website here. If you Google Trojan Remover, you'll get there. Trojan Remover. I've talked about this before. Simply Super Software it's from. It's a 30-day free trial, but we run it on customers' machines, so it's always like we run it, let it do its job, and then we uninstall it. Now, we uninstall it because this Trojan Remover loves to just pop up and do whatever it wants sometimes, and it would just be nagging a customer to pay for it after 30-day trial's over. So that's why we uninstall it. But we do run it, and I actually probably should give them some money because we use their program so much. So I ran that program on this Toshiba. It found a whole ton of stuff, got rid of it. Then it allowed me to run Malwarebytes and get the updates from Malwarebytes, which was great. So it's a nice little pre-malware removal tool if you want to run before Malwarebytes or before Super Anti-Spyware. It's a great tool. And I witnessed it today for the first time. Simply Super Software, Trojan Remover. Let me stop here. I want to talk about one thing. I repeat a lot of things on the show. Like I might say something that I did 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, or I repeat certain things, throughout the 178 episodes. I feel obligated to repeat certain things because if I said something on episode 1 and somebody didn't listen to it, I can't assume that people have listened to all the back shows. So for those of you who have listened to every episode, some of this might get repetitive for you. For those of you who are just tuning in just listen to the last couple, this is probably newer stuff that I've said. So I feel it's better to err on the side of safety as far as getting the data out there to you guys. So I'm going to repeat some stuff. Just if you've heard it already, just I don't know, turn on some music or something until it's over, and then until I go on to the next thing and then tune back in. Whatever you want to do, if it bothers you. I did read one review on a website, which I will not mention, where that actually bothered somebody. On-screen keyboard. Okay. Let's see. Customer came in. We did a malware removal on his machine, but he also had his on-screen keyboard keep popping up. I don't know if you guys have ever had that, where it's like an on-screen keyboard, so you can actually press keys with your mouse instead of using your actual physical keyboard. It's for, I guess, like handicapped people in some way. And in Windows XP, I think you handle it with the accessibility in the control panel. But in Vista, it's not called accessibility. It's called ease of access. They call it ease of access in the control panel. And it's actually in the ease of access. In one of the sections in there, you have the option of turning off the on-screen keyboard. Otherwise, it would keep booting up or starting every time you boot up, and there's no way to disable it in MS config or anything like that. It's in the ease of access in the control panel. So if you ever guys run into that, that's why you fix that. Here's something that you guys can help me out with. Like I said before, I love the Dell recovery partition because it's just a ghost image, and when I have to do a reinstall, I will use that more often than not if I can. But sometimes when I replace a hard drive in a Dell, I have a new hard drive I'm putting in, and that new hard drive doesn't have the recovery partition. But I still want to use the recovery partition. And sometimes when I'm replacing a hard drive in a Dell, the old hard drive, even though it's damaged, the recovery partition is still intact. And I've been just messing around, not spending a ton of time on this, but I would like to know